Okay.
As a public speaking coach,
Yes.
how have we performed?
Okay. So you mean you or the general conversation?
Me, and where can I improve?
I saw you at one time you are using fingers. See, now you can point at someone, and this is a threatening gesture. And most people have that. I've seen even big speakers, like even the Obamas of this world, make that mistake. It's no, it's okay. I mean, I also learned. No, it's perfectly fine because you didn't know. Okay, you didn't know. Now you know. No. There you are going to use the finger again. Yeah, it's a manner because it's a mannerism. So you see now it's the messenger, it's not the message. Yeah, because think about it. This is what we do to chase dogs. Okay, and I see some people will say, Ethan, people are not taking on my message. And I say, and they come to me, they come to my office, I record them, and we see this. You people, and the message is good, but this is threatening. So meaning you have a good message, but people feel tense. They can't take it on. You're a threat.
Live with Simon Chris Makanga. If it's your very first time here, please go ahead and subscribe. Our special guest tonight is a public speaking coach. Somebody who coaches people how to speak publicly. He is the CEO of Success Africa, a merchant of success, Mr. Ethan Musolini.
Yes.
Finally, I must say, it's a big pleasure to have you in a conversation with me.
Pleasure to be here, Simon.
This is a dream come true.
Thank you.
Before we came for this conversation, you subjected us to a prayer.
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Good question. So whenever I'm meeting with people, I always want to pray. And this is not something I used to do with people directly. Of course, I believe in God. I would pray silently. But, that where two or more gathered in my name, there will be also. But also one of my values is love of God. Just to let you know, Success Africa, we have a set of values, and the short form is legit. L standing for love of God, E for excellence, G for grit, I for integrity, T for team spirit. So love of God, so of those five, the non-negotiables for people I work with is love of God and integrity. So why God? Because Simon, when you touch your heart, it is beating, right?
Absolutely.
So who makes you to breathe? Of course, it's God. And I usually advise people that, even when you feel that God is not there, God is not supporting you, just touch your heart. If you're breathing and your heart is beating, God still is with you and supporting you. That's one. But then two is, I believe that there are no accidents in life. If we are meeting, God preordained it.
You know it.
So he knew it that we would meet. So the best way for us to maximize this moment is to make sure that we are divinely guided.
Mr. Musolini, allow me to say this. To be honest with you, I thought you are not approachable.
Okay.
I thought you are so strict. Even when I was sending him the invitation for conversation, I was just praying so hard, like, God, just give me this one, because I have loads of curiosity about you, how you do your things. Especially, like I said to our viewers, we're going to have a conversation about public speaking.
Yeah.
We all speak what comes from the heart. How did you know you're going to be a public speaker?
How did I know I would be a public speaker?
Yes.
So that is a story that goes way back to 1994.
1994.
Yes. So I was in senior 5. And I was 17 years old then. Wow. So as we speak, I'm 46 years young. Wow. And so I was in senior 5. So there was a signpost, not signpost. There was an advert on the wall. I was at Timbara High School then. I'm from a very humble background, by the way. So in me even making it to Timbara High School was God's grace again. So there was an advert. So there was a debate competition. And that debate competition was meant to select the representatives from each district who would come to Kampala to debate and contribute ideas to the 1962 constitution then. So just to take you back, of course you may not have been old enough then, but there was a Constituent Assembly debate in 1994, which was meant the way you see members of parliament. So we also had Constituent Assembly delegates whose mandate was to share ideas, contribute, and upgrade the then 1962 Constitution to the 1995 Constitution. So we had, the way you see members of parliament, we had Constituent Assembly delegates from each constituency. So I believe David Purcell made a proposal that can we also have children to have representatives, the same way we have members of parliament or women district representatives. Can we also have children? So he made that proposal. I also believe Rebecca Kadaga then also supported the idea. So it was put to the table. So me, I just joined the debate. I didn't know about all that story, by the way. I just, in my spirit, I felt, oh, that's cool. Let me just go. And for some reason, I had...
Did you have interest in that?
No, it was just an inspiration. I really believe it was a divine moment, inspiration. Because I swear to you, I had never debated in high school. But I saw
what was motivating you then?
No, it wasn't a motivation. I felt inspired to say, go for the debate. No, it's like what you would call...
fire burning.
Not fire, but it's like you're hearing that inner message, that inner voice. That's what I would say.
That I can do this.
That, oh, this should be interesting. Let's go. So I participated, I debated, and then I was among the best 15 in high school. Then we went to the district. We were 4 schools. There was Intare, Mbara High School, Mary Hill, and Chinoni Girls. So they wanted the best. So we were 60. So 30 ladies and 30 gentlemen. So they wanted the best guy and the best lady. So I participated and I was the best guy and then the best lady. So from then on I was like, wow, so I can speak. And I was like, oh, so that means it's a gift. I had very low confidence and self-esteem growing up because we were poor, had been a victim of bedbugs, jiggers. My father was a P2 graduate and all this sort of stuff. But at that moment, I was like, wow. So part of what I usually advise people is when you discover your gift or talent, that's your ticket to boosting your confidence and self-esteem, to unlocking doors. Even the Bible is clear that where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. So I discovered it then, and from then on I locked onto it. I was like, this is my superpower. And then it opened doors for me. I would participate in debate competitions. Now all of a sudden the way you hear people say honorable, then we would say CA, meaning constituent. Yeah, exactly. So now I was like walking on sunshine on clouds. So that's when I discovered the gift. And since then, it made me feel proud. It made me feel more confident. It made me feel like I mattered, because then I felt invisible then, because literally no one knew. I shouldn't say no one knew me, but it's like I was literally invisible. So, and that's part of what I advise people to say, look, public speaking boosts your visibility. So I felt confident and powerful.
Now let's start the real business, public speaking.
Yeah.
Who needs public speaking?
Great question. Who needs public speaking? That's a great question. In my view, everyone needs public speaking, and I will tell you why. First of all, I also have to acknowledge my father, he was an LC1 chairperson. He told me, wherever you go, speak up. And I also feel everyone needs public speaking. So why does everyone need public speaking? Reason being that everyone who comes on planet Earth has a mission, a purpose, a mandate to make this world a better place, regardless of whichever gift or talent.
Our godly structured responsibility.
Yes, because think about it. Even when Moses was mandated to liberate the Israelites, he said, I'm not a good speaker. And God he grumbled. And God assigned Aaron, who was great at communicating and speaking, to speak on the behalf of Moses. So Moses was meant to receive the message from God. Then Moses forwards the message to this speaker. So in a way, I believe everyone, if you feel that your life is meant to impact lives, you need to learn how to speak. But if we were, of course, some people need it more than others. I would say, for example, if you're a politician, a journalist, a leader, a manager, a lawyer, if you're in a career of some sort, if you're a professional business person, you need this to multiply, to increase your visibility, your brand, to market your products and services, to sell your ideas or concepts. Yeah, so you need that because, and for me, the question you're asking me also ties in well with what I like saying, that why should you master public speaking? Because in my view, you should master public speaking because number one, like I mentioned, it boosts your brand and visibility. Number two, instead of impacting one life, just think about, say, a person who is a counselor, or medical doctor. In 1 hour, if they're engaging one person, or let's say when I'm doing one-on-one coaching, which is part of what I do, in that 1 hour, I'm impacting one life. But just this week, on Wednesday, today is what? So on Wednesday, today is a Friday, as of this recording. On Wednesday, which was 28th August, I was speaking to over 4,000 students at Timbara School, at Timbara University, I beg your pardon, during a career fair. So I spoke for about 30 minutes. 30 minutes. So in that 30 minutes, I impacted thousands of people, of students. Why? Because I can speak. So meaning when you are able to speak, you leverage your time, you boost, you increase your capacity to reach out to people. Also, if you're in business, for example, you can market your ideas, your products, your services. Then the other thing that I forgot to tell you, which most people underrate, is that there's a client I was coaching, and he was saying that he was fearing public speaking, and he attributed that one of the reasons was that he would see the father speaking with literally shaking, even on phone, and then
these are some of the things I was curious about.
Yeah.
In public speaking,
Yeah.
most people fear this mic.
Yeah.
Even me, before I got used to this mic,
Yeah.
I remember my very first time on this mic,
Yeah.
on a radio.
Yeah.
I opened my mouth.
Yeah.
I couldn't speak. When I spoke, I don't know what I spoke, but I received a message on the studio line.
Yeah.
BBBRORING, a long text, meaning boring. When I looked at my armpits, I was sweating. Why do I feel nervous when I'm going to speak? Or why do some people feel nervous when they are going to speak?
That's a great question. And if you may allow me to finish the point I was building earlier, because it's very crucial. So now that was someone's parent who was fearing to speak in public, and so this guy carried that energy on. For me, my father was comfortable in speaking, and he encouraged me to speak. So, and I would see him speaking. So for me, I had a good example, while the other coaching client did not have that example. So the point I was advancing is, if you're a parent, just speaking in public is one of the best inheritances you can give to your children, because now they are seeing you as their parent, that you can speak in public. So you're giving them the example, you're passing on a message without you saying anything, that it's okay to speak in public. Okay. So now let's go back to your question. How does fear, or how do people become nervous? So there are many reasons. Number one, if I was to peer into your brain then when you were shaking, I can guarantee you, even before getting on the mic, you were envisioning failure. You were worried. You were so first of all, it's how you're looking at the space or the opportunity you have in that moment. So I suppose you were having conversations like, will I make it? What if I mess up? Last time I spoke and then things did not work out. Because when I'm speaking to people, like one of the three things I ask them, so what do you tell yourself before you speak? They're like, I might fail, I might mess up, I might forget, I might do this. Now, remember, it is mind, body, soul, and spirit. So if your mind is negative, let me ask you a question. If your mind is carrying such negative thoughts, is your body stronger or weaker?
Very weak.
Very weak, exactly. So if it weakens, then so you're sending a message into your system in that moment that I'm going to fail. That's a negative message, so you were weakened automatically. And then number two, you're envisioning failure. So now it is fight or flight. So we are wired that way, in that anything that threatens us, we want to run off. So even when you're there physically, the body, chemical-wise, you're literally, you really want to take off. So that's how sweating comes in. So your muscles are super active, waiting to take off, because that's how we are wired. Because in prehistoric times, people were living in the wild. So if you see an animal, you know your life is threatened. So your muscles have to there's a part of your brain which say, get ready, get your muscles pumped up, ready to take off. And just that now that it's not the animal, it's the animal of fear is in your head. I might mess up.
You remind me what Daniel Goleman said, emotional intelligence.
Yes, excellent
why it
book.
matters more than IQ.
Yes.
He talked of what he called the amygdala.
Okay.
which is in the limbic ring of our brain.
Yes.
Which controls all these fears, the negativity emotions, the positive emotions.
Yeah.
He said, when it comes to fear, he gave an example of the animals we just talked about.
Yeah.
The lion, let's talk about the lion and the elephant.
Yeah.
He said, he gave an example that the lion has the biggest amygdala, the content which is the amygdala, that its fears are so minimal. It has the highest ego, the biggest ego. When it looks at an elephant, which is so huge, it looks at it like food. It will go and grab it. But when the elephant looks at a lion, it will say, eater. It will scatter because of that content which he called the amygdala, which is in our brain. That when you are faced with your fears, it will tell you to take off, instruct you to take off.
Yeah.
When you face your fears, if the content is too high and well boosted, you're full of positivity, you're going to face your fears with all your energies.
Okay, good. Fantastic. Yeah, that part of amygdala is very important indeed. So I like how Daniel Goleman puts it,
Yes.
in that when you have your content is bigger. Now, that means for us, then you need to increase your psychology, the mindset, and the skill sets. And that's part of what I teach people on how then do you manage this psychology such that your content is bigger than the context of what is going on in the world. So one of the things I teach people is to say, number one, is change that talk, that self-talk in your brain. Instead of, for example, it is not just you imagining failing, you imagine succeeding. So it's not about you recalling the past failures, it's about you imagining and visualizing future success. The other thing that also I've seen people have that boosts that, that increases that fear is people imagining that they are being judged. And I always advise people that, just imagine being before just one judge is the threat enough. But now imagine you have 50 judges, 100 judges. Or for me, sometimes I speak to thousands of students, thousands of people, I beg your pardon. So instead of looking at them as judging you, look at them as your friends. Because typically 99.999% of the time people want you to succeed, apart from a few moments when, for example, you're in a political campaign, so supporters of the of your rival are going to be wishing you failure. Apart from those rare moments, over 99 people are wishing you success. So you have to envision and imagine that people are wishing you success. The other tip I also like sharing with people is, sometimes when you're going to speak before people, some individuals imagine that someone is doing you a favor. So if someone is doing you a favor, then you're going to approach that interaction with tension in your body. So if instead you look and think at yourself as someone with a gift, then if you're going to give someone a gift, you go with excitement. You're relaxed, you're excited. So with love and joy in your heart. So I always tell people, look, when you're going to speak, just imagine that what you have is the wisdom you have is a gift. So you're going to share a gift to people. So when you do that, then automatically it will calm you down. And of course, that is the psychology. Now the physiology perspective is, I encourage you, breathe in through your nose. You imagine taking in refreshing air, and when you breathe out, you're releasing all the tension. And then the preparation side, of course, is preparing information, rehearsing so that when you're there, you're confident. So when you do the psychology, the physiology, you manage your body, breathing in and out and relaxing all muscles, and then of course the preparation, then that will reduce your fears dramatically.
I have seen footballers, especially those who are taking penalties, and even people before they step on stage, they breathe in they have a deep breath. You breathe. And release it out at once. What does it mean?
So it means in that moment, they are doing two things. One is the physiology aspect of relaxing the body, because what we know is, and when at the physiological level, there are two levels. One is relaxing the body. When the body is relaxed, then you can perform at a much higher level. Two, when you take a deep breath in, then you're taking in breath into your brain, because the number one resource for the brain is oxygen. I'm holding it. Okay, now when you're holding it, okay, now relax.
So more confident.
Yeah, so that's at a physiological level. But now then at a mental level, in terms of processing level, usually they are visualizing success. Especially, let's say if someone is going to take a penalty, they are visualizing the ball going through the net. I mean, going through the goalpost. Or if someone is going on the 100-meter dash, they are visualizing themselves crossing the finishing line. So you're sending a command to your brain, so to speak. So it is not only psychology and physiology, but also visualizing the goal that they want to achieve. So that's one of the techniques. And also it's a bit technical in that you can also choose, if for example you do that activity over time when you're relaxed, then in future when you take that deep breath, then it automatically sends you in a relaxed mode. We call it anchoring. What do we mean by anchoring? If you do something repeatedly, then next time when something is triggered, you feel that. For example, have you noticed that when a particular song plays, it takes you back in a certain mood, either happiness or sadness? So in the same way, you can consciously create that mood. You can recreate it by creating a trigger. For example, if you keep breathing in and out and you're relaxed and you keep touching a certain part of your body, and then if, for example, pressing one of your fingers, the next time you take a deep breath and you press that finger, it automatically puts your body into that relaxed state. In a matter of seconds, the same way you hear a song, and it either takes you into a moment of happiness, if it was playing when you were happy, in a moment of sadness, if it was playing when you were sad. We call it an anchor in terms of psychology. Wow. So there are many, so that's why, just to give you an example of an anchor, I'm a soccer fan myself. I'm an Arsenal fan for that matter. You will notice, let's say penalty takers, they will take a certain walk or move before they take that penalty. If you like, I've never supported any clubs that Cristiano Ronaldo plays for, but you will notice he will breathe in a certain way. He will start, like when he's going to take free kicks, he will stand in a certain way. He puts his feet apart, breathes in. Is a certain. If you watch clearly, you will see he takes a certain pause in a particular way to put him in that state that he has conditioned his mind, his body, his soul, his spirit for peak performance. So we call it anchoring. So these guys they have psychologists who train them at that high level. So it takes him a matter of seconds to go back into a peak state. So he stands in a certain way and all that stuff. So, and this psychology also applies also for you as a speaker. So what state are you in? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? You can stand in a certain way over time to put yourself in a peak state.
You remind me of those early days of our training in media. I remember our trainer, he told me that even if you have lost your mother,
yes,
the listeners don't want to know that you lost your mother. This is a goddamn business.
Yes.
You better go and communicate.
Yes.
You leave your worries behind. The people you're going to speak to don't want to know that you slept hungry.
Yeah.
Your landlord is demanding.
Yeah.
But you have to make them smile.
Yeah.
How do I know that I've had a good speech?
How do I know I've had a good speech? And also, I really feel, before we got how do you know you've made a good speech? I feel like your trainer then in media gave such priceless wisdom. And also same thing with speaking. It's not just in the media room, it's also on the stage. Once you're on stage, you're there to transform lives, to uplift lives. So indeed, they don't care that you had problems or issues, or you have to bring your A game on. So you also have to adopt the same mindset. So what your mentor told you is something I would also encourage people who want to speak in public to adopt the same method, the same mentality. So your question was, how do you know you have delivered? I've had a good speech. Number one, what was your goal or purpose? So, and when we say purpose, it is how do you want people to think, feel, and behave by the time you're done with your speech. When we say think, it's what you want them to know. So when I'm auditing your speech, so when, for example, when my clients come to me, and I prepare them up front before they go to speak, and then when I'm watching their recording, so for us to judge that they had a good speech, we start from there. What was their purpose? What did you want them to know? What did you want the audience to know, feel, and behave? If part of the knowledge was, I want these students to know that in your career you have to plan accordingly. Number 2, you have to have a plan. Number 3, you have to look for a job. Number 4, you have to have good character. So from the knowledge perspective, did you cover those points? The answer is yes or no, or we rate it accordingly. Number two, how did you want them to feel? Want them to feel excited? Want them to be engaged? So do you feel, because when you're speaking, you are able to tell, are people paying attention? Are they engaged? So you're able to sense. So even if I'm not able to see the camera, for you as a speaker, you feel it. And of course, there are no hard and fast rules, but you feel it. And then number three, how do you want them to behave? So did you call them to action? Did you conclude in a way that makes them want to take a specific action? And then finally, even you, when you're done with speaking, if there is no one to come and say, well done, that was a great speech. And once you're done speaking, everyone is just rolling away, running away. It means you did not. It means you did not leave a mark per se. The other one, but by the other quick way to know whether you're really engaging is, are people paying attention to you or they're on their gadgets? That's a quick way to tell, because if they are looking at you and they are enraptured with what you're saying, then it means you're captivating them. Because I always tell people, it doesn't matter the quality of information you have. If you don't have the attention, then it's as good as not done. So for me, it's really, have you delivered on your purpose? And then two, were people engaged? And then number three, have people come and given you feedback in terms of how you performed? And then even later, because I've had moments whereby I speak and someone say, I'll give you the example when I was speaking at this career fair. So just yesterday, night, I saw a message. So I gave them a model on how to become more employable. And I called it the CARS model, CARS. And he said, oh, by the way, that model you gave us, it still sticks with me. So it was like 24 hours later, someone is reminding me of the model I gave them. So did you leave a mark on people's mind? Did you leave an imprint? Can people come later and refer to you? So those are some of the quick ways you can tell.
Mr.
Whether give a good.
Ethan,
yes.
What makes you a good public speaker?
Great question. What makes you a good public speaker? Number one, did you achieve your purpose?
Let me speak about you.
Okay.
I want to hear from you.
Okay.
Honestly speaking.
Yes. And that's what I'm going to focus on. So it's a couple of things. Number one, your purpose, which I had hinted upon. So in that, did you achieve? So a great speaker is on point, is on purpose, because you have to be pinpointed. Actually, I tell people, sometimes someone calls you and say, can you give us a word? So what is a word? There is no clear purpose to it. So for you as a speaker, great speakers know their purpose. They know what they want to achieve, and they stick to it. I'll give an example of, say, media. So excellent speakers and communicators. Let's assume someone is advancing a point and is saying, you know what, we want to take garbage, let's say, assuming someone is from KCCA, and it's talking about how their plans is to make sure that the next level of garbage is, they are looking for ways, for innovative ways to make sure that this garbage is turned into gold, from trash to treasure, so to speak, and is advancing the plans they have. And this media person can say, by the way, I heard that you have marital issues in your relationship with your wife. Isn't this contributing to the... So now, if I came to the podcast or the interview to talk about trash, now you've taken me to marital affairs. If I go to marital affairs, I'm off point. I'm no longer achieving my purpose. So excellent communicators say, well, thank you for raising that question. And I believe the most important question at this particular moment is people want to know, not necessarily about my marital affairs, but how can we really relieve people of the strain, of the stench and future worries and concerns and tragedies around trash. So let me tell you some of the things we are doing at KCCA. Number one, we've already reached out to stakeholders to submit proposals. So what I've done there is I've quickly gone back to my purpose. So that's one of the key marks of great speakers. They focus on the purpose. Number two, they are engaging. And you engage by making sure that you speak with energy to captivate the audience. You use stories such that they are not lost into the stories on social media, but the stories that you're communicating. Number three is also you have to connect with the audience. How do you connect to the audience? So for me, again, the audience, you get to know what are their problems, what are their issues, what are their challenges. So that you're speaking their language. It's not about the information you have in your head. It's about the information and the conversations they have in their heads. So in marketing, they say that if you can speak what is in people's minds, if you can talk about the conversation that someone is having in their head, then they'll feel like you know them better than they themselves. And once you do that, someone will say, oh, he knows me, she knows me. So you have to speak about what is relevant. That's also a mark of great speakers. The other mark of a great speaker is that they are transformational. They are not just information, but they are transformational. They don't just provide information, but they have crafted and thought ways on how to shift beliefs, how to shift ideas in people's heads such that they can transform their lives. For example, I was talking to my daughter, who felt that, you know what, I don't want to sleep with my younger sister at one moment, because we were painting different rooms and all that. And so, like, she was really annoyed and agitated. So I could have come in as a father and become instructional and come in, no, thou must. No, but I told her, you know, how this is your sister, you have to develop a relationship with her, because if you can't develop a relationship with your sister, who else are you going to develop a relationship with? You have to, pardon me?
Are your children good speakers?
Well, it's, of course, as a father, I'm biased, as you can imagine, that I would consider them to be good speakers, but I'm taking actions around that. Now, whenever I go to events, I go with them and give them 1 minute each to speak or say something. Yeah, but back to what you were asking me on you know, what makes a good speaker.
Yes.
So I said purpose, they're engaging, they are connecting to what the audience is really into, and finally you have to drive people to action. Have they changed behavior? So, for example, going back to the example of my daughters, so that night they were happy, they slept happily. So it means I had changed something in them. So the behavior had changed, the attitude had changed, and the behavior had changed. So for me, mark of a great speaker is, have people changed? So the ultimate mark of your message is, have people changed behavior? It's not that, oh, it was a great speech. It is, have people changed behavior?
You're talking behavior in terms of, let me give an example.
Yeah.
The most recent speeches in the American campaign.
Yeah.
When Kamala Harris was holding her campaign, I saw Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
When she was coming to speak.
Yeah.
Okay, let me talk about that moment when she invited Obama to speak. Like always, he doesn't work with a script.
Yeah.
So he puts the audience into a happy moment, and then he draws them back into silence, and then he throws them into happy moment. How do I bring these variations that I found a quiet, maybe noisy audience? I'm stepping on stage. How do I capture their attention? How do I play with them? Like I saw, he was playing with the audience. He says something and they all chant. He says something and they all calm down. He says another, then they go up. Like you can see automatically he has the audience. What tricks can I use to play with my audience?
Okay, cool. So first of all, let's look at the big picture that most people don't know. I was very privileged when I was in my early 20s. I did an internship in the US. And one of the guys that was coaching us actually had worked with a woman who coached 5 US presidents, who had trained and coached 5 US presidents. So one of the people that he referred to, that he reminded us about, was Bill Clinton. So 4 years prior to his presidency, he was booed off the stage because he could not connect to the audience. So he hired a voice coach, a speech coach, and a drama coach. Even watched Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was known as the communicator. So he watched his steps over and over again to master the way he walks, the way he was waving, the way he was communicating. 4 years down the road, he becomes the US president. That is Bill Clinton. And everyone is saying, that guy is so gifted. He's so natural. He's so amazing. So the point I'm raising is, these guys, whether they are gifted or not, of course, a guy like Obama is gifted. They have coaches.
There's no overnight
They practice. They watch everything. They have already crafted. They're like performers at that moment. They're like performers. If I've not been following the elections and speeches this time around for some reason, but I saw a line on CNN just before, and they said something along the lines of Harris was in her hotel rehearsing. But she's not just rehearsing. There are coaches, there are journalists, everyone giving them feedback. So just know that what we think is natural is there's actually training and practice and coaches behind the scenes. So that's one. But then number two, let me now go back to your question. Question is, how can you do this? So then it's good you had the observation of takes them high, brings them low. So even when I'm coaching people, I tell them there's what I call vocal variety. So just imagine, just look at your voice as a guitar. I'm not a guitarist, but at least, or a musical instrument. So what makes a great guitarist is not just having one, for lack of a better word, since I'm not an expert, it's not just about one beat, it's a variation of beats. So let me use this table. So if I just kept hitting this table like that over time, I mean, you cannot sustain it even for a minute. It will be too boring. So, and that's what most people do. It is just one monotone which becomes boring. But if I if I mix it in and then boom, you know, for example, yeah, then all of a sudden there's variety. So the brain is not bored. That's why, since you're in the creator's world, that's why videographers, when they are editing, they'll make transitions, they'll bring in a picture, they'll bring in an image, because such that they retain your interest. So in the same way, when you're speaking, part of the game is you raise your voice, you bring it down, you slow down, you speak super fast, and then you say, ladies and gentlemen, we have to make a point, because if we don't, our world is going to the bonkers here. We have to make a point. And then, because I know the way God created planet Earth is for us to take care of it fully.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, Mr. Ethan Musolini,
Yeah.
I am given 2 minutes to make a powerful speech.
Yes.
That has to leave an impact and a mark
Yeah.
on the audience.
Yeah.
How do I utilize my 2 minutes?
Great question. How can you utilize your minutes to make a speech? Give me a topic. Corruption. What's the purpose? What do you want me to communicate? What's the purpose?
I want people to understand that giving a bribe is a contribution to corruption.
Okay. So giving a bribe contributes to corruption. What do you want them to do? What's the behavior you want them to have? What do you want them to do?
Follow the rules and regulations.
Follow the rules and regulations. So, in other words, the reason I'm asking these are questions you have to go through in your mind when you're preparing for a presentation. You don't just say corruption and then you go and start speaking. You have to be very intentional. So if I'm intentional, so I know what the purpose is, which is to, I want them to know that giving bribes contributes to corruption. I want them to feel agitated. And then most importantly, I want them to make sure that they never give bribes. Okay? Because then we have a nation that is filled with integrity. So once I know that, then I fill in the points accordingly. So when I'm speaking, so I want you to time me. I'm going to let's do this live, because and again, just for people to have, I didn't know that you'd even ask such a question, but I want to put myself to the test. And I want you to put a timer to see if in 2 minutes I can make a point.
Wow.
Yes.
Great. We're good to go in a count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I want us to talk about corruption and why you should never give a bribe. Because when you give a bribe, you're actually facilitating this dangerous disease called corruption. For example, if you are looking for a way out to get parking and someone tells you no because there's someone else, you give them a bribe. So even the children who are sitting in the car, you're passing on this scourge that you can corrupt people and then they do things which are not correct. So I'm challenging you not to stop that. So how can you do that? Number 1, believe in God. Number 2, know that God is watching you. Number 3, tell yourself from now on, I want to start and kickstart a generation that is full of integrity. So my challenge to you is, next time when you're going to do something, you should do what is right at the right time with the right people, so that we can have a nation that celebrates integrity and God, and we will win in the end. God bless. How much time?
1 minute and 7 seconds.
1 minute, 7 seconds. So meaning I could have delivered a message in 1 minute.
Wow.
Did that capture you, captivate
Absolutely.
you? Good. So now let me give you the structure I was following. Number 1, it is the what. So I was clear on the what. What is my message? So in the first few seconds, I was clear in terms of what this subject is all about. Have you ever listened to someone and you don't know what they are talking about? There you go. They talk and you're like, what are they talking about? So I was clear in terms of the what. The next was why. Why is this important? I told you why it was important for us to stop the corruption, because a corrupt mindset and behavior. Because sometimes people speak, but people will not be enthralled. They will not be engaged if they don't know why what you're talking about is important. So that was the what, the why. Next step is the how. So I said, okay, for us, so how can you stop this corruption? I talked about believing God, setting the intention. So I was clear on the steps we need to take. And then number 3, and then finally number 4 is the action. What do I want you to do? So commit and make sure there's no corruption. A call to action. Because you recall when I was speaking earlier, when I was engaging you earlier, I said, it's about transformation, not just information. And the true test of transformation is, have you changed people's behaviors? So if I don't call you to action, to change behavior, then my message is not complete. That's why when I'm coaching my clients, I always tell, even if you have 30 seconds, what do you want people to do? Because some people, they speak and then say, that's all I had to say. I think that's all I have to say for now. Then what? So you leave people hanging. So you have to call people to action. So when I'm preparing people to deliver speeches, I usually advise them to follow that structure. And it is scientifically based. So there's research behind all that. So people usually want to know, what is it about? Why is it important? There are usually four kinds of mindsets in the crowd. There are people who care most about, what is it? What is this about? Then there are people who say, but why should I care? Why? I mean, I have my own troubles. Why do you want me to even think about corruption? Then there are those who are thinking in terms of the how, the how thinkers. They're like, just show me the steps. I don't want, just show me the steps. Now you're taking care of the house. Then there are people who are just action takers. They're like, what do you want me to do? Yes, I agree, corrupt, but what do you want me to do? Okay. So once you take care of all those angles, then you've taken care of all the audience mindsets that are listening to you. Having said that, this does not mean that there are people who only think about the why. It's just that, just the same way you hear of personalities, we also have how people think. So it's just that one aspect is more dominant than the other. So when you cover all those 4 aspects, then you have a comprehensive message that people know what it is about, why it's important, how it can be done, and what you want them to do. When you do that, then people are not going to wonder, to ask themselves, but why is this? How do I go about this? Because I'm sure have you ever listened to a message and then like, wow, this is amazing. But then you're like, but now how do I go about this? It's because the speaker did not give you the steps on how to do that. Or someone raises a topic, you're like, oh, that's interesting. But then you don't feel motivated and inspired. And then it's because he or she did not explain the why. No, he did not explain the why. Why is it important for that to come on board, to follow that message along? So there is a lot of psychology. So in 1 minute and 7 seconds, so if I can do it in 1 minute, 7 seconds, so it means I could even have done it in 1 minute. So that's why. So even before Parliament started limiting to speakers, I believe it's about 2 minutes. Is it 2 minutes or 3 minutes? When you're speaking in Parliament, I believe it could be about 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yes.
Yeah. So way back in 2003, when I was coaching people, I was limiting them to 2 minutes. Because then I know if you can't make your message in 2 minutes, you can't make it in 20 minutes. If you can't make it in 1 minute, you won't make it in 10 minutes.
And now it's been drawn closer to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
TikTok has, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
Content has been reduced to 30 seconds.
Yes.
They have to make an impression in 30 seconds.
No, no, it's not 30 seconds. If you don't capture someone's attention within 5 to 7 seconds, they are gone.
Whoa. I hope they will watch this conversation.
I hope so.
But Mr. Ethan Musolini,
yes.
From so far what we have talked about, you know, as we speak, I'm also seated at your feet, learning, and this is my take home. For now, we still have a conversation heading on. But I hear you say, I'm going to summarize it down for my own, how I've understood you. Yeah. That you must have discovered your purpose. And why am I saying this? If you discovered, you discovered your purpose, that you are going to be paid off by speaking. You are going to use your mouth to survive. The way I use this mic to survive. This pays my rent, pays my bills, everything. The mic. There are moments where you are grabbed, like you said. Hey, let's call Mr. Ethan Musolini to give us a word.
Yeah.
You are not meant to speak.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm taking home.
Yeah.
That once you have discovered your purpose,
Yeah.
you are going to invest in it to learn how to speak to the people, how to address a crowd, how to ready yourself anytime. For instance, if you are called to speak out of nowhere, probably you're in a church service, and somebody spots you and they say, oh, let's have a word from Mr. Ethan Musolini. Believe you me, you won't lack what to say, because you discovered your purpose is to speak.
Yeah.
Would you just look at the audience? Immediately, you'll know who they are, what they want to hear, and you will deliver a message.
Yes.
So it all goes back to the purpose.
Yes. Good.
So now, how do I know that I am boring?
Boring. That's a funny question. How do I know I'm boring? Can I take you back about the purpose and when you're called on board? Because that's also the... How can I put this? So for me, it's when before the boring question, not the boring question, the question about boring people. You talked about purpose. I have, before this recording, you told me that you're a big fan of Miles Monroe, the late Miles Monroe. And when I was a university student, a friend of mine called Joseph Okia, lent me his book titled In Pursuit of Purpose. And it's when I discovered that, everyone must have a purpose. So that's very important, because when you are speaking from a place of purpose, you'll be passionate. Okay, you'll be passionate, and then you speak you connect people's hearts. So if you don't know, in future I would be happy to come and speak about purpose and discovering your purpose. So it's very important. But then the second part, it's not just enough to have purpose. You also have when you're called on stage, people call it being unawares. So let's suppose you're called, you unawares. You're there in the audience, you're called unawares. So so there's also a way to package that and structure that. So there are some mistakes people make. Yeah, yes, there is. Again, it comes to, you see, everything has a recipe and a formula, my dear, with the right preparation. So when I'm coaching my clients, part of what I coach them to think about is prepare yourself as if you're going to be called upon. Anytime. Never go into a gathering, because most of the people I coach, like CEOs, directors, and business owners, so they're high-profile people. So they professors and generals and members of parliament and all that. So typically you find they are called upon. So part of what I coach them to think about is, just imagine you'll be called upon. In fact, there's a client of mine who is a professor and a business person, also was called just like that. But I had told her, wherever you go, just imagine if I'm called to speak, what I'm going to speak about. That way, you're not caught pants down, okay? But let's just suppose you've not had the benefit of Ethan coaching you and all this stuff, or hearing this, or you are not, you just went to enjoy yourself. How should you handle this? So what I recommend is, number one is, let's first start with the mistake. The biggest mistake I see people make is they get the mic and say, I'm very sorry, I was caught unawares, I was ambushed, and I was not ready for this. But anyway, let me say this, let me speak about this. So automatically you switch off the audience, because now, why should I listen to you if you are not prepared? So never, ever, ever, and please, I wish you never mention.
Tell them.
Okay, is that the kind? Okay, so let me put it this way: never ever speak or never declare that you're not prepared, because the moment you mention that you are not prepared, then people will also not be prepared to listen to you. So why should I listen to you when you're not prepared? So that's mistake number one. So the other trick you can do then, so now that I've warned you about the mistake, so what's the mindset? The mindset then is, when you're speaking there, speak as if you're the most prepared person in the world, And then later you can put this guy in the corner and push them, not push them per se, of course I'm joking, put them to task why they could do this to you, so to speak. So that's the mindset, is you speak like you're prepared. Then the other mindset to have is look at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to impact lives. So once you have that mindset and you look at it as an opportunity, then you'll not be stressed. You will feel wonderful. You will say, okay, here is an opportunity. So then how do you then approach it? Let's start from, I'll give you the tactical and then the spiritual perspective. I'll give you in the mindset, which is the mental. Now let's talk about the tactical. The tactical is you decide, you ask the person who was interviewing, say, who called you, say, you can put the mic on the side. So you put, assuming this is the mic, so, or let's use this bottle. So you put the mic aside and say, okay, so how much time do I have? What do you want me to talk about? Okay, because sometimes you may not even know what they want to talk about. So you get, so in those few seconds, you get to know how much time, you get to know the message. Then in your head, you quickly say, okay, then you use the purpose. What do I want them to know? How do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? Okay, so you ask yourself that question. Okay,
what is really, I'm bothering to understand something.
Yes.
I have been called on stage.
Yes.
I'm walking.
Yes.
To speak.
Yes.
What is running in my mind?
So
how should I prepare myself? How should I ready myself?
Yeah, and that's that's part of what I'm going into. So you need to craft a purpose. If you are not able to at least ask the person, you need to, as you're walking, you're preparing. What do I want them to know? How do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? So you're preparing yourself that way. You're putting yourself in a mental state of this is an opportunity, so it will relax you. You're breathing and out the activities that we talked about, overcoming fear and all this. You visualize success. You're preparing yourself. So mentally, emotionally, and then spiritually, from a spiritual part. So when you're speaking, now when you're speaking, again, now from a tactical perspective, I told you the what, the why, the how, and what next, okay? And then from a spiritual perspective, and this is very crucial, I know you love this, say, God, I am here. Take charge of my body, my soul, and my spirit, and use me. And then you believe that God will give you the wisdom to speak in the moment, to let God's name shine and the glory be. Now, you might also, so then what happens if you find that you're still stuck, you don't know what to talk about, and you're still looking for information? Very simple. So what you do is you can, once you hold the mic, greet people, whatever it is, say, by the way, someone was asking about this. Looking through this audience, give me a subject so that I give you a hint.
Let's talk about this podcast.
Podcast. Let's just assume you're speaking to podcasters. And you're being called upon to talk about podcasting for you as a person, and you didn't know. So then, let's say it's about how to create an engaging podcast and how to market it, but you weren't prepared to speak. So what you do is say, by the way, I love listening to people also before I speak to them. I also love, you also have my own thoughts, but I also love listening to other people's perspectives. Out of curiosity, first of all, how many of us are podcasters? But let's just assume they're all podcasters. Please share with me what trends or what is the best trick or strategy you've noticed that works when you're on how to market your podcast. They mention. Or what have you noticed is the best structure for creating an engaging podcast? So in that moment, as they are sharing, you're getting ideas. Number two, it gives you time to breathe and ask to come up with ideas. Then that way, so whenever you're stuck, your fallback position or cheat code is the audience itself.
You remind me,
yeah.
I think it was still the late Dr. Miles Monroe. He said, if you meet a stranger, for instance, you've been called, ambushed to speak to an audience. Yeah. If you don't know nothing, ask questions.
Yes.
If I meet you, it's the first time we meet physically.
Yeah.
I cannot speak about myself. Hi, Mr. Musolini. I am Simon Chris Makanga. I own this. I do this. I do that. You will get bored.
Definitely.
But I will come and ask you, why are you? How do you do it? You have a good skin. How do you do it?
Thank you.
Then we'll start a conversation from there.
Absolutely.
And I like how you've brought it up.
Yeah.
You've started with a question.
Yes.
That's what has reminded me of that.
Great. Yeah, because Simon, once you know, so for me, most people, they concern themselves a lot in terms of the information they have and what they want to share. But the magical personalities, they concern themselves about the kinds of questions they need to ask. They need to learn more from the other party. So it's the late Stephen Covey who said, do not seek to, before you seek to be understood, seek to understand first. Seek to understand first and then be understood. So once you understand your audience, because think about it, if you're before this crowd, most likely you don't know what's on their minds. And it could even be, assuming you're an expert, you could even ask, so tell me, what is the most burning question that you'd want me to cover on this subject? Then that way, when you're speaking, you're responding to what's in their hearts. Then in the end, you'll become their hero because you've answered what's bothering me rather than what you want to share. Now, I do not practice this 100% of the time, and I'm just telling you of the tools and tactics and techniques that work almost all the time when used properly. You can never go wrong when you choose to understand the audience first and what they are looking for. And that's why when I'm preparing people to become great speakers, I always start with you understanding the audience first. Know what's on their mind, know what's their questions, their issues, their challenges, their problems, and then you'll be good.
Wow. You remind me, let me tell you a short story.
Yeah.
And you'll help me explain what was running in my mind or what's wrong with me.
Okay. Or what is right with you.
Or what is right with me.
It doesn't have to be what's wrong with it. It could be what is right with Simon.
True.
Yes.
Two scenarios.
Yeah.
I was invited to speak to an audience.
Yeah.
Climate activists.
Yeah.
When they called my name, I looked for a friend to help me record. So when I was handling the camera, I saw the panel was all full. I looked up, I'm like, God, now what's up?
Okay.
Why do you let the devil steal my glory just in front of you? So I walked to the washrooms.
Okay.
I'm like, no, I cannot see my glory just get off my hands just like that.
Okay.
Soon as I came out, I found the gentleman, he's called Emma.
Okay.
He said, Mr. Makanga, apologies. The lady read extra names, but we are going to put you to the evening shift. And guess what? The Minister of Works, General Katumba Amala, was the guest of honor in the afternoon. I said, thank you. Another scenario, I was at the Minister of Environment. I'd gone for an interview.
Yeah.
Then I phoned the person I was going to meet. I phoned when he was in a longer meeting, past our scheduled time. Then when I was going out, he said, we rescheduled it to another day. When I was stepping out, I saw an audience. I saw they're all talking about climate change, which I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So I stepped into their meeting, uninvited. I listened. There was a panel discussing. Then time for questions came. And shortly after asking my question and speaking about who we are as a Thari, I didn't want to keep longer because it wasn't my show. I stepped out. Then I saw people following me, wanting to know who I am, what do I do? They wanted to know more. How do we explain that?
Okay, great question. So how do we explain those coincidences where what you're planning for did not go according to script and things turned out the right way? So number one, I always advise people that God's ways are not our ways. So usually when things don't go my way, I quickly reboot, refresh myself and remind myself that there must be a good reason for this. God, show me what that reason is. So, and that's why I usually tell people, sometimes we give, I know this might sound controversial to some people, but I will say it because it's something I believe in. So that moment when you say, I will not the devil steal my moment. So in that moment, you're giving the devil more power than the devil actually has. Yeah, because everything was preordained, strategized, choreographed by God, not blocked by the devil. Why? And that's why in the afternoon, there was a minister. So you had a better moment of influence than what you would have had in the moment. God did not want you in that space. God wanted you to speak before the minister. So that was the game. Number two, like the second moment, you said, oh, I had a meeting with so-and-so. It did not happen, blah, 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 blah. Then you find yourself in an audience, a bigger audience. So who led you to that audience? The Holy Spirit guided you and said, Simon, go here. So now instead of meeting one person, you met hundreds, possibly thousands, and who knows? I don't know how many people were there.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. So God is saying, no, Simon, this other person, before I give you even the answer, did you meet this person eventually?
No, up to now we haven't.
You haven't. Okay, it doesn't matter. But here's the key thing. God is saying, no, Simon, instead of meeting this one person, I want you instead to influence hundreds of people. So what you're crying about this one person, I'm going to 100x, 200x, 300x the job. Say, you said there are people who were following you. So God is saying, rather than you following up someone, be the leader who is being followed. So before you were a follower, now you step into the room. God is saying, no, I did not create you to be a follower. I created you to be a leader. In that moment, you were a leader. You spoke your truth. You spoke your passion. You spoke your purpose. God is saying, instead of chasing, I'm asking you, instead of selling your idea, I want you to serve. There are people I want you to serve, because sometimes we are so keen to sell rather than serve. So in that moment, God is saying, Simon, no, stop following. I want you to lead. Stop selling. I want you to serve. So in this moment, let me finish. So God is saying, no, I'm putting you here to serve these people in this crowd. God is the one who gave you the wisdom to speak whatever you spoke, that it captivated people to say, to put a signal. God was sending a signal to these people, say, that's the leader I want you to follow. That's the person I've given you abilities to tell your story. Instead of sitting, this is the guy who's going to package and repackage your message and explode it to the world. Follow him. But before you follow him, he had to take you into the room. But before he would take you into the room, he had to bring you nearer to the room. So it was a decoy. It was preordained. So you thought you were going to follow something, but God and the Holy Spirit had led you to somewhere that was closer to that conference room, to that conference space. So what I mean by that is, instead of regretting, we need to ask ourselves, okay, this has happened. God, so over to you. So show me, what is this all about? So in the end, I don't know how the whole story ended, but I can guarantee you those people were waiting for you. So multitudes were waiting for you.
Why are you here?
You ask me for this podcast on planet Earth?
For this podcast.
I am here because I was meant to be here. And again, like I mentioned, that because looking at your eyes and face, you're like, wow, I had not thought about that. So just the same way you were led to those people, part of my message was to be led to you. And I can guarantee you there is someone who is meant to listen to this particular message I am speaking. I'm saying, and guarantee you're not watching this by accident. There's a reason why you're listening to me and you're listening to Simon, so that everything is on purpose. So, and in my view, that's one of the reasons I started by, and for me, I could feel it very strongly. This last answer I was giving, I could feel a lot of energy and inspiration. I feel it wasn't just me speaking; it was the Holy Spirit or God, whatever the word you want to use.
So, the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Now, let me ask: am I blessed, or are you blessed, or it is just a couple of hard works?
Both. But it starts with a blessing, because you need to ask yourself, first of all, how come you're passionate about climate change and not guns? So there is someone who is passionate. How come you're passionate about climate change and not electronics or civil engineering? Because you said you're a student of Miles Monroe. So each one of us, when you come here on planet Earth, there is something dropped in your spirit, in your DNA, in your psyche to accomplish. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We are all here for a purpose. So we are here for a purpose, to make ourselves better as we make this world a better place. So there's a mission in you. So that's the blessing. So it's a blessing and a burden. So a blessing in that you are being, a servant of God, and a blessing in a sense that you've discovered your purpose, because there are other people who have not yet discovered their purpose. So it's a burden in a sense that when you don't achieve it, you are restless. So that's what makes it a burden. Now, having said that, so God can give you the inspiration, the energy, and all this, but if you don't work on it, then it will not be delivered. So that's why I said it's both. So you can either say yes to the calling or say no. So for you said yes to the calling.
What happens if I say no?
What happens? Well, it's God who knows, of course. I may not be able to answer I cannot give the full answer. But what I do know is if you say no, number one, you'll not be happy. Number two, you'll be restless. Number three, you're stealing from planet Earth. Number four, you're stealing from yourself. Number five, you feel like you're living an empty life. It's not fulfilled. So, but when we look at the other side is when you say yes to the calling according to your purpose, then you feel fulfilled, you create an impact, you make this world a better place, and then you become better, you become happier, you feel more authentic, and you're really true to self.
Now, when we talk about calling,
Yeah.
if my phone rings, I will see Mr. Ethan Musolini is calling.
Yeah.
How do I know my purpose is calling?
How do you know your purpose is calling? So for me, there are a couple of signals. Number one, is what you're doing in alignment with your gifts and talents? Because if it's not in alignment, if it's in alignment with your gifts and talents, then that's a good chance that you're within your purpose. So number two, are you passionate? Do you feel drawn to it? So meaning you're excited about it. Because if you're excited, then that's your yeah. Does it give you joy? Does it lift you up? So that's your purpose. Say, hey, come here, come here. So that audience was calling you. So it means there are people who had been praying to find a person like you. That's why they were following you. So the energy in that room, the spirit in that room was calling you. So you had to follow your heart, your spirit, your gut instincts. But it was really purpose. It was really God calling you. Say, hey, go here. Okay.
I've come to realize that one of your greatest asset that you are selling out to the world is hope.
Yes.
I always tell my friends that you can either buy it, you can sell it, you can give it, or you can also have it for free.
Yes.
It's all over.
Yes.
But you're giving it for free, you are selling it, and you also receive it.
Yes, of course.
But one of the things I know, let's speak about your motivation speaking talent. Or purpose. One of it is to bring back the word smile on people's faces.
Yes.
You are making them smile as you are taking in.
Yes.
Mental health is real. How do you stay motivated?
Good question. How do I stay motivated amidst all the challenges? Number one is time with God. Prayer is very crucial. Okay. So number two, part of what keeps me mentally healthy is I have a family. I have a wonderful wife, a wonderful, beautiful wife. I have amazing, beautiful children, girls, and I have an excellent relationship with them. So they make me feel alive, so to speak. So number three, I exercise. So that's very important, at least 3 times in a week. There are people who say, hey, but you're skinny. Why do you have to exercise? No, you exercise for fitness. I take walks. I drink lots of water. I watch what I eat. That's the other thing people underestimate, because if you I see someone, let's say my size, and they have Mount Renzori on their plate. I'm like, where are you putting that? Now the organs are going to struggle to process that food. So I take little food on purpose, and also watch what I eat. Then the other key thing is to stay as positive as possible. What people don't understand is that when you're negative, it sends toxicity in your system. So when someone annoys me or angers me, I find a way to forgive as quickly as possible, because I don't want that toxicity in my system. The other key thing that keeps me mentally sharp, and by the way, just if you have an organization, I would be happy if it's around Kampala. I would be happy to come and speak pro bono on mental health and on emotional intelligence, I beg your pardon, because emotional intelligence, Simon, I discovered that it's one of the keys to having mental health.
My last question.
Yes, please.
How would you judge or rate our conversation? We've been speaking.
Yes.
And we are speaking to the public.
Okay.
As a public speaking coach.
Yes.
How have we performed?
Okay. So you mean you or the general conversation?
Me, and where can I improve?
Okay, cool. So I noticed two things. One, on the positive side, is that I can tell you you're genuinely interested. When you're speaking to me 100%, your eyes are on me, you're not seeing me. You know, there are people, they talk to you, but they're looking at their phone, like they're looking on their watch, but I could tell you are engaged and looking at me. And same thing in speaking. Your job has to be, you have to pay attention to the people, not in what's in your head, but what's showing up before you. So eye contact is very important. Number two is, I like the fact that you're passionate, and passion is very important.
Thank you.
So the energy. Number three, you are using gestures, which is great. The thing I would do differently if I was in your position is you have this posture, you seem to feel comfortable to fold your arms. Now, the challenge with folding arms, this is whether you're speaking in public or one-on-one, even if you feel comfortable, stay away from that. Reason being, if I did this, what does that communicate to you? Let's just, as you reflect, if I'm talking to you and I do this, what comes to your mind?
That's a tough one. Probably you're taking in.
Taking in, what else? Am I closed or open? Am I closed or open to your ideas?
You could be closed.
There you go. So, because you see, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So your body language, actually in communications, we say your body language, meaning your the visual, not body language, but the visual. Your body language, how you're dressed, communicates 55% in a public speaking context. Then 38% is the tone of your voice, the pitch, the tempo, and 7% are the words. Now, of course, some people say, but words, I thought they are so important. Well, let me give you an example, just as a moment of proof. If I say to you, Simon, I'm really so happy to see you. I've really missed seeing you all this time, and now I'm so happy to see you.
You're lying.
There you go. Okay? So, now, let me package it differently. Let me communicate differently, but same words. Simon, I'm so happy to see you. Wow. I've really missed you. It's great meeting you again. Now, let me ask you a question. Were the words more or less the same? Wasn't the message more or less the same?
It is the same.
Exactly. But in one instance, you said, no, you're lying. In the second instance, your eyes lit up. What changed? What changed was, I changed my body language. It had happiness. My tone of voice had happiness. So meaning, I worked on the other 93%. The visual and the vocal. So what people miss is sometimes someone will say, oh, I was in a meeting. I had the same idea. They did not take it. But someone said the same thing and they took it. They are unfair. I'm like, no, it's not just the idea. It's also how you package it, who you are being. That's why I was telling you, it's not just the masses and the message, it's the messenger. So when people come to me, I pay more attention to the messenger more because once I work on the message, the content, the message, and all these things are easy, but it's the messenger because most people they don't know. So for you, closing, and then I saw you at one time you are using fingers. See, now you can point at someone, and this is a threatening gesture. And most people have that. I've seen even big speakers, like even the Obamas of this world, make that mistake. It's no, it's okay. I mean, I also learned. No, it's perfectly fine because you didn't know. Okay, you didn't know. Now you know. No. There you are going to use the finger again. Yeah, it's a manner because it's a mannerism. So you see now it's the messenger, it's not the message. Yeah, because think about it. This is what we do to chase dogs. Okay, and I see some people will say, Ethan, people are not taking on my message. And I say, and they come to me, they come to my office, I record them, and we see this. You people, and the message is good, but this is threatening. So meaning you have a good message, but people feel tense. They can't take it on. You're a threat. So these are some little things. So when I'm coaching people, Simon, I tell them, my job is look for the hinges. You see, the hinge is very tiny compared to the door. but it has a huge impact. So like that finger thing, that little thing, boom, it opens up so many possibilities to say, you don't use these, you use open gestures. So those are the little tiny things when I'm working on the messenger. Before long, then someone comes, oh, now people are more receptive to my message. I don't know why. So I teach them these things. Of course, I help them in structuring the message by the messenger. And so those are some of the magical things I do behind the scenes. I've helped some CEOs, I've helped some members of parliament. In fact, there's one whose first time was to go to parliament, so whether it's to help people structure political speeches or in business setting, or someone is in a career setting, they're a director, they want to become CEO. Those are the things I specialize in to help people. I also help people in executive communication skills. Besides public speaking, we look at things that how do you help you? How do you structure your meetings? How do you communicate amidst conflict? How do you persuade people to follow your vision? How do you business and social etiquette, emotional intelligence? All these are things I'm saying beyond public speaking, you have to master communications, because especially the higher you go, the more you depend on other people.
Wow.
So
now I would like you to look into this camera.
Yeah.
And speak to our audience, at least in just like 20 seconds. The do's. Okay, let's speak about the don'ts.
Yes.
What someone should really pay much attention to when they are being called to speak publicly.
So there are a couple of things when you're speaking that you really have to avoid. Number one, not looking at people in their eyes. Number two, or the audience, so to speak. Number two is not using your gestures, because if you don't use your gestures, you're limiting your communication power. For example, if I say, ladies and gentlemen, let's come together to transform this organization, it is clear, it is well and good. But if I said, ladies and gentlemen, let's come together to transform this organization, the second part is more potent, more powerful, because I've added gestures. The other thing that you have to avoid is low energy, speaking with low energy. So that means you have to look at the other side. Speak with passion. So now if I was to boil it down to the do's, the must-haves is be passionate when you're speaking, use gestures, be clear in terms of what you want to say, have a clear what, why, how, and what next, and always call people to action. Never end with, that's all I had to say. No, always tell people this, I challenge you, I call upon you to do this. Then when you do that and your message is from the heart with passion, with energy and proper structure, you will have an impactful message.
Wow.
Yes.
How do people find you?
Okay, good. So there are a couple of ways to find me. Number one is, even before finding me, there's a resource I really don't want your viewers to or listeners to miss. Is about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I was inspired to record 40 training programs on life and career development, which I had done in physical form. Now I wanted them in digital form on personal and career development. So I did 40 days of sessions online to record them. So then God inspired me to do 50. So I did 50 sessions nonstop for 50 days. And my goal was...
I've been watching them, I think, on LinkedIn.
Okay, thank you.
Talking about them.
Okay, thank you. So my goal was to sell it as a package for between $500 to $1,000. In Uganda shillings, that's between 1.8 million to 3.8 million shillings or thereabouts. So then God told me, give away everything for free.
You're kidding me.
So, and then because I had to be obedient, I said, okay, God, it is yours. So I uploaded everything on YouTube. So you can access that on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/user/Ethan Musolini. Subscribe. Then you'll be able to access this. And then for future content. But also you can go to succeedingdaily.com. When you go to succeedingdaily.com, then you'll be able to access all the 50 links. They'll take you to the YouTube channel automatically. For free. Zero pay.
How are you benefiting from that?
How am I benefiting? I'm benefiting by obeying God. Okay. So earlier we were talking about purpose. So I benefit by knowing that my purpose is being fulfilled. So it's not really about how am I benefiting. That wasn't I told you originally my purpose or why I wanted to do it was I had looked at it was my $1 million project. Then God told me, you know what, give away everything for free. In the bigger scheme of things, if God tells me something, I want to do it because God knows why. And therefore, it gives me a fulfillment that I'm following.
How do you watch aging?
How do I watch aging? I exercise, I eat little, I watch what I eat. Like I'm into plant-based diet. That's what I've been doing like the last 2 years or so. I exercise, I keep a positive mind. That's the other people forget. You see, when you're negative, it sends poisons in your system. Before you know it, you have unkanyanya. So when you're positive, it sends endorphins in your system. And I love laughing. I laugh a lot. I smile a lot. So thank you. Oh, thank you. So I am grateful for the gift of life. Simon, you just need to, when you're going to visit, say, one of your relatives who is not well, and you see other people, then you have to be super grateful to life. Do I fear death? I would say at this stage, still yes, I do. Reason being that I really still feel I want to do more things, and I have young children, so I really want to reach a level whereby I no longer fear it, because ideally it shouldn't be, because the spiritual text tells us we shouldn't.
What do you want to be remembered for?
Good question. Wow. What do I want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered as someone who gave people hope, who inspired them, who uplifted them, and made a positive impact and difference in their lives, who loved them. So for my family, I would want them to be, so that's for the general public to know that I loved, I inspired, I impacted them. So for my family, I would want for my wife and 2 beautiful girls also, is that I would want them to remember me as someone who loved them genuinely, who spent quality time with them, who gave them values, who impacted them positively. For my girls, to know that I helped them to build their character, gave them wisdom, and gave them time and attention, and gave them a voice to know that they matter, that they can express themselves, and that I gave them space to live their dreams, their purpose, to discover their purpose, that I helped them to become better human beings. My coach told me that, Ethan, your job is to help your children to become better than you are. And the other thing is, so for me, one of my biggest highlights, so when I had just gotten my daughter, who is 10 years old now, she would come to my reading room and knock. She must have been about 1.5 years or thereabouts. She would knock, and I'm on my laptop. She said, Daddy. So I would hear her knocking, and I would pretend like I'm not listening, because I would look at that as a distraction. So when my coach listened to this, he told me, Ethan, the problem, so he asked me, how much time do you spend with your children? And it was very disturbing. I mean, it was literally shameful, so to speak. He said, you know what, Ethan? You want to raise your children the way your parents raised you. Because I don't remember quality time with, it was extremely minimal with my father. With my mom, I don't remember any of that kind. He said, you want to raise your children the way you are raised. He said, your job is to help your children to become better than you are. So from then on, I purposed to spend quality time with my girls. So, and I'm happy to say that about 1 year ago, about a year ago, so I was walking with my daughter, who was 9 years old then, and one of the administrators at the school said, we have an event for fathers. We want fathers to have more quality time in their children's lives. Yeah, most fathers are not having quality time. And my daughter said, no, my dad is not like that. That's no. She didn't say my dad is. She said, no, that's not true. She didn't say they are not like. She said that's not true. And then the lady, because she knew, said, okay, no, not your father. Your father we know. So in the world of my daughter, who was 9 years old then, she's like, no, my father spends time with me. So that's her world. So I every time I tell my girls I love them several times before they go to sleep, because I never had the word.
They know it.
They know it, and they say it. They talk about it. So I never had the word I love you growing up. So one of the ladies, I first said the word I love you in my late 20s when I was dating someone, because it was difficult and it was a struggle. So part of my dream is that when my girls grow up and a guy comes and says I love you, they'll be quick to say, so what else do you have? What else do you have? Because they have already had it from their dad several times. So they are comfortable with me. I really love them dearly.
And they know what real love means.
Yes, they do.
If you bring that on table, then they can have a discussion.
Yes,
it's a different one.
Yes. So for me, if my girls can feel like and know, of course now they know it. I pray that I keep getting better and better, a better father. I want to become, one of my prayers is that I keep becoming a better father, a better husband, and a better leader, and a better professional, wherever I am. So to leave this world a better place. I know I've already made my mark. It's just that I want to make a bigger mark. I know I can do even much more. And so that's my prayer and my dream.
What a great story.
Thank you.
What a great story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You said how can people get to me? You please switch on the camera again. Yes. How can they? I had not finished that. So in terms, do I look at the camera? Or look at it. So if you want to reach out to me, so there are a couple of ways to reach out to me. Number one, go to my social media handle. So I'm really looking forward to many thousands of subscribers on YouTube. I'm looking to many subscribers because I have hundreds of videos. I have hundreds of hours of content literally on YouTube. So just go to youtube.com/user/Ethan Musolini. When you go to youtube.com/Ethan Musolini, it takes you to a channel which doesn't have content. We made a mistake somewhere. So it's youtube.com/user/Ethan Musolini. Then in terms of my other social media channels, again, my handle is Ethan Musolini. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, what's the other channel I'm on? Twitter. I post there. I post content mainly on those channels. So I would encourage you to go there. On my website, you can go to ethanmusolini.com. Then if you want to check out my coaching services, go to ethanmusolini.com/coaching. Then if you want to know more about public speaking, the event that I usually have like twice a year, I have one coming up on September 11th to 13th September 2024, depending on when you are watching this. If not, at least keep checking ethanmusolini.com/public speaking. Now, if you're in the corporate space, I have a company called Success Africa where we do human resource consulting, training, and other services. Then go to success-africa.com. And definitely go to succeedingdaily.com to access 50 hours of content. That's over 20 years of my life. That's my gift to you. Check it out. And then I have one appeal to you. When you follow me on social media, please share my content. Comment, share. Because when you comment, it tells the platform, that this is relevant. Don't just read or watch. Comment and then share. Because when you comment and share, then the platform says, this content is relevant. Then they distribute it to other people, to as many people as possible. If you don't, then they won't. So like from this recording, this podcast, wherever you find it, whether it's on my platform or Makanga's platform, wherever it is, please share it. Comment and share. Like, comment, and share. And of course, if you don't, that's also fine. You don't have to comment and share and like. But all I'm saying is that if you find it valuable, then kindly share it with others, comment, like, then automatically the algorithms or share it to other people. So that's my prayer, because like that Succeeding Daily content on YouTube now, I thought it would be having like thousands of views. Sometimes I find like there are some videos that have less than 100 views. And I'm like, well, this is content that people pay me a lot of money for, millions of shillings for. I'm giving it out for free, but I have very few viewers. One of the ways in which you could really help me, that I'm really kindly asking you to, is like, comment, and share with as many people as possible. And right now, what I didn't tell you is, I believe for you, right now, for you, I know you are following me on LinkedIn. I'm on a project called 1,000 Days of Content Challenge. So my goal, as of this recording, I'm on day number 61, is to create a piece of content every day for the next 1,000 days. So right now we have 940 days to go. So if you find something like that, again, comment, like, share. I post it on LinkedIn, on Facebook and Twitter, but mainly LinkedIn. So share it, comment, share, distribute, and may the good Lord bless you and keep supporting this good man here. And whatever your dream is, pursue it, please. Public speaking, that's a skill you have to master. And you can go to amazon.com to check out my books, published Public Speaking Secrets Exposed, Get Motivated in 30 Seconds or Less, Wisdom and Success Quotes, which I co-authored with Sylvia Nambalirwa. And then the other one is, so I talked about confidence and self-esteem, public speaking, Get Motivated, then Wisdom and Success Quotes. If you go to Amazon, type in my name, you'll be able to access these books. And you can reach out, drop me a direct message, whether it's on LinkedIn or there are people who follow these messages, they are able to pass them on to me. May the good Lord bless you, and may the good Lord bless you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ethan Musolini.
You're welcome.
Friends, Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. And for those of you that have just come on this platform for the very first time, what I want to say, if you do resonate with what we have been talking about, please, I still remind you, go ahead, like, share, and give us a genuine comment. And if you still do resonate with what you do and you still want to be part of this, please feel free to inbox us so that we can expand or share this knowledge across the world. My name is Simon Chris Makanga, and may the good Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob be with you until we meet in another video. For now, it's a bye-bye.